Please come.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Varsha. Have a seat.
Thank you, sir.
Varsha is from Patna, Bihar.
Sir, I was born in Patna, Bihar, and the later years of my life, I have been born and brought up in Bokaro Steel City, Jharkhand.
You have done your BCom and Chartered Accountant.
Sir, I'm a cost
As a
accountant.
cost accountant. Yeah, you're a cost accountant. All right. You are fond of reading non-fiction books
Yes, sir.
and reflective writing, badminton. And your optional is also commerce and accountancy. Okay. Tell me, which are the official actors, regulatory agencies which oversee the corporate governance in the country?
Sir, we have the Securities and Exchange Board of India, which is responsible for overseeing corporate governance. And we also have Ministry of Corporate Affairs, which is also responsible for formulating guidelines and oversight. And apart from that, we have the independent directors who are present on the board of companies to see that the corporate governance norms are being followed.
There are three others institutions. Can you name they also? They are the institutions also which govern corporate governance. You are absolutely right what you have said.
Yes, sir.
One is the Reserve Bank of India,
Yes, sir. The Reserve Bank of India.
ICSI and ICAI also.
Yes, sir.
They are also there.
Thank you, sir.
Now tell me, you must mention about independent directors. So independent directors is one, audit committee is another.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, in spite of all these safeguards, why was it that so many misdemeanors or misgovernance still take place? And one of the very recent examples was Satyam, and after that ICICI. Why does it take place in spite of so many official controllers?
So there has been improvements in corporate governance across the board. However, we still have areas which we need to cover. The independent directors are not independent in the complete sense because first they are appointed by the organizations themselves, which require an independent oversight. So that creates a conflict of interest. And while there are strong legal measures to ensure independence, we still have certain loopholes. For example, while the independent directors cannot hold key managerial positions before being appointed an independent director, but after they demit the office, they can be appointed as key managerial personnel. So that also creates a conflict of interest for them.
Okay. All right. So when we talk about democracy, now what are the ingredients of a democracy?
So
In this country, for example.
Yes, sir. Sir, the most fundamental ingredient of a democracy is rule by the people and representation of the people. That is supreme.
That is actually what democracy is.
Yes, sir.
What are the ingredients of democracy?
So we have a system of checks and balances. There is a need for strong institutions in a democracy, which can put a check on the power of the other uh, institutions in a democracy.
Let's
We
be
have
specific.
Yes, sir. We have an electoral process, which is one of the largest electorate in the world. And we have strong constitutional bodies, which are responsible for various functions like conducting the elections. And so these.
No problem. I'll tell you the answer
Yes, sir.
simultaneously so that when a question is asked, you are in a position. The first ingredient of democracy is freedom of speech.
Yes, sir.
Second is free and fair elections. Then independent judiciary, civil society, opposition.
Yes, sir.
These are the ingredients. You see, they are ingredients and safeguards of a democracy. Okay. Right. So now tell me that fake news, which are right now becoming an order of the day with so much technological advancement. So some people say that fake news will kill social fiber of India unless it is checked. What is your view about it?
Sir, I agree with this that fake news are a menace for the society and they will kill the social fiber. And there is a need to check fake news by all means possible. Most of the times, fake news is about things that are very believable for people, and that is why it is very difficult to control it. And measures are being taken for controlling fake news, and more measures are necessary for it.
So can you recall some women who have done extremely well in corporate world?
Yes, sir. Sir, first is Indra Nooyi ma'am, who was the CEO of PepsiCo. Then we have Kiran Majumdar Shaw, who headed Biocon and started a biopharma revolution in our country. We have Sudha Murthy ma'am, and we have the founder of Nykaa, Falguni Nair.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Varsha, what's the basic difference between cost accountancy and chartered accountancy?
Sir, in practice, the focus of a cost accountant and chartered accountant is different. A cost accountant is responsible for cost auditing, whereas a chartered accountant is responsible for statutory audit. While working in organizations, both of them have similar functions.
Okay. The phenomenon of conflict of interest was in the news a few years back. Are you able to recall the scam that took place?
Yes, sir. In the case of the ICICI chairman Chanda Kochar, there were allegations. There were allegations of conflict of interest.
Was she chairman? Was she CEO? Was she CMD?
CEO.
Yes, sir.
She was
She
CEO.
was the CEO. Yes, sir. So there were allegations of conflict of interest in that case. She was the part of a loan sanctioning panel,
Yes.
which extended loan to Videocon Enterprises. While she had a conflict of
So
interest.
what went wrong?
Sir,
Who was responsible for this situation when such a scam took place?
So first, I think that there was an ethical misconduct on her part because she should have reported a conflict of interest. We have measures to report conflict of interest, and there are guidelines, but it depends on the person to make disclosure of their conflict of interest. And I think that there was a failure on that front.
And what was the role of independent directors you were just now talking about?
So the independent directors are also responsible for an oversight, and there should have been better due diligence in this case. But having said that, I feel that if there is a conflict of interest, the person who has such a conflict has more knowledge about it, and therefore it becomes their responsibility to disclose it.
You mean to say that the independent directors have nothing to say, they have no power?
So they have powers, and if this was in their knowledge, then desired course of action should have been taken at the earliest.
So negligence was in the case of Satyam scam,
Yes, sir. You can
independent
say so.
directors did not, and at that time, if I remember correctly, some guidelines were proposed to be issued by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs for the appointment of independent directors. A panel was supposed to be
Yes, sir.
issued, out of which the public sector undertakings or private sector undertakings could appoint anybody.
Yes, sir.
Was it done?
So we have a list of directors which are registered with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, but for the appointment purpose, it is still done by the organizations who are appointing an independent director on their board. So while there is a overall list, we don't have specific independent
But
directors.
who prepares that list? Ministry of Corporate Affairs?
Yes, sir.
That includes professionals, non-professionals, retired civil servants.
Sir, I'm not aware about the exact composition of the panel.
Okay. Uh, Chanda Kochar has been arrested. Huh?
Yes, sir.
What was the difference in the scam that took place in the case of Chanda Kochar and Nirav Modi?
Sir,
Was there any similarity in offence? Common features?
So the common feature was ethical misconduct by both these persons involved. However, in case of Chanda Kochar, she cooperated with the inquiry and stayed in the country. While in case of Nirav Modi, he escaped the country, and as a result of that, he was declared a fugitive economic offender. The modalities of both these scams were different. In the first case, it was a conflict of interest, but in the case of Nirav Modi, it was misuse of letter of recommendations, and there was forgery involved. There was also
Okay. One last question.
yes, sir.
Comptroller and Auditor General of India is a constitutional body or a non-constitutional body?
Sir, it is a constitutional body.
Okay. Should it be banned or scrapped because it is not functioning
No,
as
sir.
per the mandate given to it?
I do not agree with that statement. It should not be banned. It has been performing its functions quite well, while there is always scope of improvement.
But it is toothless. It cannot penalize anybody, and it has no control on the expenditure. Whatever way the company can incur the expenditure, it has no control. It only does post-mortem of the expenditure incurred. So what is the point in having?
Sir, I believe the main function of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India is auditing, which is not keeping a control on the expenditure, which is the function of the other bodies, like the parliamentary oversight committees.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
I am an army officer.
Yes, sir.
What question do you expect from me?
Sir, on a wide variety of topics, security, international relations, anything, sir.
Okay, I'll surprise you.
Okay,
You do
sir.
reflective writing.
Yes, sir.
Now, here is somebody in front of you. I want you to get into the mind of this individual and tell me 3 things that you'll write of what is going on. You reflect into his mind and write. Tell me 3 sentences.
So this is a laughing Buddha, and if I try to get into the mind of this laughing Buddha and think about what it must be going through at this point of time, it is happy after seeing its beautiful surroundings, and everything seems lively, and there is color. And there is internal bliss as well, which is responsible for the beautiful smile on the face of this Buddha.
Okay, good job. Now tell me what makes you smile. What makes you happy?
Sir, I am happy when the people around me are happy, when my parents are proud of me, I am happy when I finish my tasks on time. I'm able to achieve my goals.
Okay, you chose accounting and all that right from your class. Okay, in your class 12 plus in your graduation as well.
Yes, sir.
Why did you choose these subjects?
So one reason was that my father is also a cost accountant. So I always had an inclination towards it. And then I really liked the subject after.
So you liked the subject,
Yes, sir.
and then you worked as cost accountant somewhere.
Sir, I
Now
did.
you want to give up the subject that you liked and loved, and you want to join something else which is far away from the subject that you actually picked up because you loved in the first place. What do you have to say about that?
Sir, while I deeply value and appreciate my own subject and the knowledge I have acquired in my subject, I want to work in a field where I can serve in more ways and directly, and where I will have a wider landscape. So that is something that also motivates me, irrespective of the appreciation I have for my subject. And that is
All right,
why.
so if you get IPS, would it be correct for me to say that all this expertise of accountancy, taxation, etc., is a waste?
No, sir. Uh,
How?
So, over the years, I have developed critical understanding and decision making skills through my subject, which can also be applied in the case of Indian police services. While they are not might be direct application of my knowledge, but the skills that have been developed through my subject will be applied. And in any services, we need to ensure optimum value for the money of the people. And my skills in cost accountancy will help me implement it in a better way.
Okay, Chinese, the COVID plus the Chinese assertiveness and the world kind of becoming apprehensive about China created opportunities for other countries, to become the second hub of manufacturing. It appears that countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam seem to have stolen the march over India. Why has that happened, and what are the challenges that India faces in trying to become a second hub of manufacturing, whilst we have a similar environment between China and India in terms of population and workforce?
So, there can be a lot of reasons behind this shift taking place to Vietnam and Indonesia instead of India. First is that the labor laws are more flexible in case of these countries. While it is true that the cost of labor is lower in case of India, but flexibility is something that the organizations look for. And the other reasons can be that these nations are closer to China as compared to India, and it is
Is
easier.
that the reason? China was 8,000 kilometers from America across Atlantic and across Pacific, but yet everybody headed there. In the global quick world, is distance really a factor?
No, sir, it is not that directly responsible. But in case of shifting operations from China to these nations, it would have been easier, and that is why they were preferred.
Okay. Now, if I was to ask you to nominate one person as your choice to be the president of India after the present president, who would that be?
Sir, I think the present person is a very apt choice for the president
No,
of our
after her.
country. Yes, sir. After that, sir, I can think of Madam Sudha Murthy.
I thought as much. That's what you would say. Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
sir.
No.
So,
Okay. So you have done your management accounting,
Yes.
chartered accountancy with cost accountancy.
Yes, ma'am. Management accountancy is also
Part
a
of,
part of it. Yes.
If you were to explain to me what exactly is the content of management accounting, please do.
Management accountancy works as an aid for managerial decision making. It employs various techniques like variance analysis and standard analysis and budgetary decision making in order to aid the management to take evidence-based decisions.
Okay. You are fond of reading non-fiction book.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is the last book that you had read?
I have read Last Among Equals by M.R. Sharan. It is about his experience during his PhD days in the state of Bihar. Uh, he lived in the villages of Bihar, and he writes about the caste, power, and politics in the state and the indomitable spirit of the people that prevails despite the challenges that they face.
Okay. Tell me, what will be the fate of our Indian universities once the foreign universities are allowed to come to India?
There are certain concerns about foreign universities coming to India. Uh, in the draft policy, there are provisions for providing them with more autonomy than our own universities. They can charge the fees that they want. There are no caps that have been proposed. As a result of which, our own universities can see a movement of good faculty members to these universities, and since they have lesser autonomy in formulating the curriculum, even the students might prefer these universities. However, we need to see how this works out once they are here, and only then we can tell the exact impact that this is going to have.
So, how can we prevent the adverse impact to our own universities?
Ma'am, there is a need to form more precise guidelines regarding what is not allowed for these universities. And our own universities, we have started with institutions of eminence and giving more autonomy to the better ones in our uh, own country. That is also a positive step. And ma'am, we can have an alternative model where there can be collaboration between these universities from foreign and our own universities. And as a result of that, both will benefit from the uh, synergy between them.
Okay. What do you think of reservation policy? Should it be revised to include reservation based on social or economic considerations?
Yes, ma'am. I am of the view that there is a need for revision of the reservation policies, but it should be based on data and evidence, and that will help it to bring it in consonance with the present realities. So that would be a positive step. However, keeping in mind that it does not takes away from the people who are socially disadvantaged, while um, furthering the interests of the economically disadvantaged.
Last question. Suppose you were to change one thing in the society, what would it be?
Ma'am, I would like there to be more equality between people of different classes. While certain differences are always going to be there, but we can move in a positive direction, and that is what I think is needed.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Varsha, so your interview is over,
Thank
but
you,
you will
sir.
wait outside for a few minutes. We'll call you back for giving the feedback.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Have a seat. Okay. Varsha, when is your interview?
Sir, it's on 20th of April.
Okay. Now, Varsha, this is the first time you have been called for an interview for the civil services?
So this is my second interview.
How many marks did you get last time?
179.
Okay. Did you get any service? No service last
No,
time?
sir.
Okay. Varsha, what are you doing right now?
So right now I'm preparing for the civil services, and I'm also applying for assistant professor jobs.
Um, Today's mock, it lasted for about 25 minutes. What is your assessment regarding your performance in today's mock?
Sir, I think I could have covered more dimensions in some questions, and I
Which
could.
questions?
Sir, regarding the independent directors also, and about the ingredients of a democracy, it could have been covered in a more comprehensive manner.
Okay. So, Varsha, first of all, let me say that your communication skills very good, articulation excellent, very composed, very calm, and lot of clarity, lot of confidence. All these things go in your favor. Your demeanor is excellent, good poise. You were able to come out with very logical and good answers. You seem to have a good knowledge about the subject, that is commerce and accountancy. And your understanding about the subjects is deep, it is not superficial. That also goes in your favor. So, not only the knowledge but also the depth of knowledge is very much there.
Thank you, sir.
Positive outlook, you were not trying to bluff. Presence of mind was very much there. You were able to sit there and come out with questions which displayed your presence of mind. Sometimes people get confused, while sitting there. Suddenly a question is asked, but you were able to take it with poise and ease. Okay. All these things go in your favor. And 179 marks you got last time. We would definitely like you to be in the vicinity of 190 or even more than that, so that you can get the service which you are aspiring.
Thank you, sir.
Coming to some of the specific areas, I would not talk about the questions which you have already answered quite well. Do prepare certain very basic questions which are based on the constitution and polity. These type of questions are often asked, like I asked you.
Yes, sir.
Strengths of a democracy, ingredients of a democracy, safeguards of a democracy, constraints of a democracy, challenges in a democracy. So it can be differently worded, but you need to prepare on that.
Yes, sir.
What is a republic? What is the difference between a republic and a democracy? Okay. Then, what is the cooperative federalism, center-state relations? What are the pillars? So, such questions on polity. Role of president, role of vice president. Okay. Fundamental rights, fundamental duties. Article 311, Article 226, Article 32. So some of the very important articles. Then articles governing empowerment of women, children. What are directive principles? Why directive principles are becoming so important? 73rd and 74th Amendment, Panchayati Raj institutions, decentralized governance. So these are the things on which they may ask you. What is the role of a sarpanch? What is the role of a BDPO? Go and have a visit into a district, a block and a panchayat. It will give you a first class idea as to how the Panchayati Raj system works.
Yes, sir.
Role of a collector. There are 5 or 6 important roles of the collector. Go through them. It can be law and order. It can be revenue functions, coordination functions, developmental functions, election functions. Read Criminal Procedure Code, some specified sections which deal with executive magistrates. How was COVID-19 lockdown implemented? Section 144, CRPC. So some of these basic questions which people do not remember. What is maintenance for the wife? Under which section the maintenance is ordered? Then questions relating to the economy. Prepare that well because you are having a commerce background. So I asked you purposely questions relating to corporate governance. There can be questions on economy of the country, what steps the government is taking to bring it back on the rails. So prepare the Atmanirbhar Bharat, repo rate, reverse repo rate, fiscal policy, monetary policy, role of Reserve Bank of India, role of Competition Commission of India, role of SEBI, Niti Aayog, and budget.
Yes.
This is as far as domestic front is concerned. One more area which, since you were asked this question, that which are the areas where you would like to speak on, you said security. So internal security challenges is again an area where you need to prepare. Then what is public policy, how it is made, read through the process, the grinding process of how a public policy is made and implemented, because that is the main function of a civil servant. Go through that rigmarole. What are the public policies for different vulnerable sections of society? Prepare that well. Okay. And lastly, the foreign policy of India. Go through the last 75 years, how the foreign policy has developed. What are the global problems that we are facing? Russia-Ukraine war, role of United Nations. Economy of India versus economy of China. Where are we going wrong? Manufacturing sector, why are we not giving prominence? We talk about demographic dividend. What have we done for demographic dividend? What is the purpose of it if we can't give them employment? So such burning question. Inflation, how do we control inflation? Was demonetization successful or not? So these are some of the areas. Lastly, your Bihar and Patna. Prohibition policy, good politics, bad economics.
Yes.
What is your reaction to that? They can ask you this question. What are the strengths and weaknesses of Bihar? Read about it. And then, of course, your hobbies. Just go through them. If you have any questions to ask, you can ask us.
Sir, I would like to ask about one question. Sir, you asked about why businesses are moving to Vietnam and Indonesia. Sir, can you elaborate what I could have said in that?
No, some of the reasons you covered are absolutely all right. And some of the issues like, why China succeeded was because they created an ecosystem which met the requirements of the companies from A to Z. And the most important thing was skilled manpower, skilled technical manpower, which was available for different requirements. Unfortunately, India does not provide the same degree of that advantage which China and that advantage which Vietnam is actually providing. So the skill development program of India did not succeed the way it was expected to succeed. And when you are talking of technical aspect, then you cannot train a man in 6 months. You see, it requires. So I think apart from all the other reasons, a skilled manpower to complete the ecosystem to meet the present day technological requirements of these companies is an essential component. And of course, you talked of ease of doing business and things like that is still a problem as compared to other countries, right?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
The
And
very
sir,
important thing about China is its economy of scale.
yes, sir.
That is the reason why it is able to bring down the prices to such a low levels that there is absolutely no competition. It is able to dump material in every country. Okay. Anything else?
No,
You
sir.
will do extremely well. Our best compliments to you.
Thank
And
you,
looking
sir.
forward to seeing you become a civil servant.
Thank
All
you,
the
sir.
best.
Thank you. Thank you.